Good day to everyone. So, today my conversation is regarding the private sector because I personally do believe that the private sector is the engine to the development of any country. And if we do not have a thriving economy, it's simply because the private sector is not being developed properly. So, I'm going to look on my phone and read some stuff to you that I've been doing. Well, I've been doing some research, and this is what I'm finding. The private sector is paramount to a country's development. It fuels economic growth, creates jobs, and fosters innovation. Without a robust private sector, a nation's development is significantly hindered. Let me read another one that I found, probably similar, but let me read it. The private sector is vital for a country's development. It drives economic growth, generates employment opportunities, and promotes innovation, playing a key role in shaping a prosperous nation. Let me read one more. Developing the private sector is crucial for retaining young talent on the island. A thriving private sector creates job opportunities and a dynamic environment, making it more likely for young people to stay, contribute, and build their futures locally. Read one more. Without government support for the private sector, opportunities for young people on island would diminish. Basically, without government support, the opportunities on island for young people will be basically zero. So if in case the government do not support private sector, job growth may stagnate, innovation might slow down, and economic prospects could dwindle. It's crucial to foster an environment where the private sector can thrive for the overall well-being of the community. So these are things that are there for the public on the internet. If you do a little research, you don't need to be an economist or you don't have to have a degree. Everything is there online. The answers are there for Montserrat issues. Without the private sector, it's like driving a vehicle without an engine. And therefore, any government, our government, must concentrate on developing the private sector. Any services that the private sector can offer, the governments should allow the private sector to offer them and actually use their services. Pay the private sector for their services because the private sector can do it, so you pay the private sector. Before I even leave customs, since what? I left customs 2012? Yeah. And before that, the British government have been saying to the government of Montreal, you need to cut your staff. But for some reason, people are not looking outside the box. When you hear the British government say to cut your staff, they're not saying that you need to fire people. The British government is simply saying to you, it doesn't make sense that government be the engine, because government cannot be the engine of the economy. The private sector has to be the engine. So what England is basically saying to government for many years now, you need to outsource and hire the services of the private sector. And if in case you hire the services of the private sector, then Montreal will grow. It's very simple and straightforward. I have no idea why the governments choose to compete with the private sector. Lately, an individual from the government said to one of my staff, we don't have to buy from you because we could use our credit card and purchase the goods. When you hear government start talking on that kind of level, you know Montserrat is in serious trouble. Why should government have a credit card to order things? That doesn't make sense when the private sector can more than handle ordering things for people. Government should not even be using their credit card to buy stuff overseas. That's basically like a conflict of interest. Because when you allow government workers to buy goods for government overseas, many things can happen that I'm not going to even get into. Many things can happen, and many things has happened before in the past. There are many services that the private sector is offering that government can tap into and do not have to have them under their department. When I look around, even down to the mechanics, why is the government not using our private mechanics to service their vehicles so that these mechanic shops can actually hire more people? Young people are leaving the island because they have no opportunities, they have no jobs. When you go to the mechanic places, they hardly have any staff because they don't need to have staff, because they're not getting a business from government. Government should be using these people business to provide the service. Why the government don't do these things? Is it because the government is looking at the point that if I give these people all this business, they're going to be rich? Why the government doesn't think that if in case you give these people business, then they would hire more people and pay more taxes? Why not? That would actually ease government from having to spend X amount of money to buy certain material. So I'm saying simply, once the private sector can offer the service, allow the private sector to offer the service. Maintenance is a big issue in Montserrat, and maintenance is always something that has to be done. If in case you have a yard and you don't maintain your yard is not going to look the same. Same thing for Montserrat. So nobody is saying that you're going to cut the staff or you're going to take work from people at Public Works. But the guys at Public Works who is cutting grass, do you believe that these men under the government system for 20, 30, 40 years should just be cutting grass? These men should be trained to make roads, to maintain the roads itself. And if in case somebody have a piece of land and they want a road cut, the government is supposed to send these specialized workers who they have cutting grass to the area for them to actually make roads. Our roads are bad and they need maintaining, so why not use the men from Public Works? Make them specialists in their field to maintain the roads. And why not give the private sector the opportunity, give them a job to maintain the roads, cut all the grass. I'm pretty sure that the private sector would do a very good job. And if in case you give all these people work, then Montserrat would be a total different place. If everybody is working enough, Montserrat is a whole different place. Construction is important. Clear the lands so that people can see. If in case the place is full of trees and bush and so you can't see nothing. So people can't visualize having a building in certain places. Fix the machinery to clear lands. Either you fix the machinery or you sell it to the private sector and let somebody in the private sector hire somebody in the private sector with the same machine to clear lands. That is something that the government can do. Also, the government don't have to have equipment sitting, not being maintained, not working, when this machinery is very important to the development of Montserrat. So when it comes to private sector development, private sector is the key. Private sector is the engine to any development in Montserrat. And we have to more concentrate on building the private sector, because if we don't build the private sector, we don't have no economy. People are going to leave because they're not going to see any opportunities. No opportunities mean that you have to go to a next place to develop a next country. And if in case we keep losing all the people who should be in Montserrat, then Montserrat would be in serious problems. So I'm hoping that we have some changes in Montserrat to help the development of the country. Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, or comment.